Iowa State moves to 2-0, and they are so much better than anyone thought they were. We're talking about today on Locked On Cyclones.
You are Locked On Cyclones, your daily podcast on the Iowa State Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Shout out to you for being here every single day, making this your first watch or listen of the day. I appreciate it more than you know, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcasting platform. Be sure to hit subscribe so we can prove once and for all that it is, in fact, a Cyclone state, because that's our next game. But we got to stick around and talk about this USD game. South Dakota falling to the Iowa State Cyclones. We're going to talk about the offense. We're going to talk about the defense. We're going to talk about just my general thoughts. And obviously, Konrardy in parentheses, because he will be spotlighted. That was awesome. Okay, let's keep it moving. Can't wait to dive into all that and more. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Iowa State moves to 2-0 with the win over South Dakota. Final score of 55-7. I predicted a 38-16 win. Definitely a handed, that's a pretty strong win there, 38-16, but 55-7, and they were right on the doorstep of making it 62. It just didn't quite. It was the end of the game. Do we really need to go up 62-7? If it's me on college football, yes. Iowa State in real life, probably not super necessary. Let's start with the offense, because I don't want this to go by the wayside. This is by far my biggest point. That's why I wanted to talk about it first. Iowa State's offense looks crisp, looks very clean, looks very good, okay? The one thing that I wanted to see in this game was the start of the game. How was the offense going to look? Going into this on Friday, I said, I want to know what the offense looks like right away. What happens first play of the game? Brett Askelson. Everyone in Ames, Iowa, in Jack Trice Stadium, obviously saw what he did over in Ireland. Here's a first in-person look at what he's capable of. Boom. See you later. And I will say, I don't have, I'm not a huge fan of ESPN on this one. We'll talk about this in the third segment, so stick around. There is no box score on ESPN, so I am actually being forced to use USD's box scores here. So that's just take that for what it's worth. Brett Askelson goes for 2 receptions for 77 yards per that here, because ESPN just doesn't want to give it to me. And that's, I believe 66 was on that first play of the game. Boom. So Brett Askelson actually becomes a second leading receiver, because Gabe Burkle is number 1. And this was a tight end just onslaught today. I've got a touchdown for Gabe Burkle, 2 for Bramer. Benjamin Bramer had 7 receptions for 47 yards, and Gabe Burkle had 4 for 85. Now, that's a lot of receptions for these guys. Just those top 3, alone, that's 13 receptions on roughly, what would that be? 120, 130, 100 and about 200, roughly 200 yards for those top guys. Who's throwing him that ball? Jeez, it must have been pretty accurate. Yeah, Rocco Becht. I believe I heard them correctly. He broke the school record for accuracy in a game. Unreal day from Rocco Becht, going 19 of 20 for 278 yards, 3 touchdowns, and that nuke to start off the game. At the half, he had 247. So we didn't see much of Rocco in the second half. I think he was taken out with like 9 minutes to go in the third, and then it became Alex Mansky, which a lot of people are going to talk about. We might chat about that here in the third segment. It is what it is, right? I don't want Rocco to get hurt. That's for dang sure. As far as the offense goes, as a whole, I thought we looked really good. Felt like the line was doing what they needed to. The obviously Rocco making plays when he needed to, as far as in the backfield and whatnot. His accuracy was really good. USD seemed to be kind of just giving us routes at times. Definitely a lot underneath with the curls once we were getting towards, I believe it was like completion 10, 11, 12 to start the game. They were all just quick hitters. Like, if you're going to play 10 yards off, we'll pick up 6. Yeah, that's fine with us. Rocco did start the game, I believe, with 14 straight. That's the number that I have. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. Great way to start the game. Longest streak to start the game for any quarterback under Matt Campbell after 10 years. So I don't know. Is Rocco Becht good? Rocco Becht passed Arch Manning in the Heisman watch today. Yes, by a landslide. We're not going to talk about other games, but Rocco balled out. He just flat out played unbelievable in this one. Put the ball where it needed to be. Every throw but one, really. And the throw that he didn't hit, it seemed like a miscommunication more than an inaccuracy problem. I will say, if we're going to get down to the absolute brass tacks, like the nitty gritty, the tiniest little details, there was one throw. Didn't really love it. I felt like the defender was right there the entire time. Not really sure why he decided to throw it. I believe it was Bramer who actually caught that ball. They were in USD's red zone ish, right, or either in it or right on the edge. And I believe Bramer made it to like the 5 or something like that. If you know which one I'm talking about, you know. Don't love that throw. I actually thought it got picked off, at the very least broken up, and all of a sudden we were running with the ball. That was a shocker. But outside of that, Rocco played unbelievably. Rocco did exactly what he needed to do. Also rushed 5 times for 15 yards. So there is that. Not quite as dominant as he was over in Dublin. Whew, I'm out of breath because, my goodness, did Rocco ball out in this one. I thought rushing-wise, we saw really good. Not anything too crazy. I definitely don't think this was the rushing attack that we saw last week, to be completely candid with you. But that's okay, because if Rocco's going to throw for 240 in the first half, do we need to rush for 150? Like, probably not. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think that's the end of the world. And then we've also got Xavier Townsend had 3 receptions in this one. Chase Sowell, still, to my knowledge, on this box score, has not had one. I don't think that's the end of the world. I think we're still okay there. I'm looking at Tyler Moore had 2 receptions. Carson Brown had 1. Trip Walsh had 1. And then Eli Green had 1 for 5. I think we can confidently say what I have been saying this entire offseason is true. It's going to be a split attack, 4-2, 7-3-2, and then 5 guys with a reception. And then it's going to be a tight end dominant offense, which is amazing. Okay, we're also going to see solid running back play. I thought we did a really decent job today with a 228-yard rushing game on 42 attempts across the team. Like 306 through the air, relatively balanced for the most part. Like, I had relatively 0 complaints. Like, you know how they say, like, scientific room for error? Like, it's, you know, plus or minus a 32nd of an inch, plus or minus 5 grams. This, we're within scientific error range here. I can say 0 problems with this offense, in my opinion. Okay. They could have maybe played better. Sure. But coming off of Ireland, like, from everything I wanted to see from this team, they did it offensively. Absolutely. Feel really good about it. Just going to leave it there. Like, if you had concerns about this team offensively, I want to hear them. I want to hear them down below, or tweet at me at Nick_Marv. There was just, it looked like we had Gronk out there paired up with Randy Moss, paired up with Tom Brady. Like, I get it's South Dakota, and I get that this isn't the team that we thought was going to be so good. But man, did we look good on offense. However, defense, I might be the only one that thinks this, and you guys can let me hear it. I don't think our defense played. Defense is a slight concern for me, to be completely honest. Even after we just beat South Dakota 7-55, like, we just blew the barn doors off of this team, and I am still going to sit here and tell you, oh, this defense, man, this defense. I don't know if I love what I saw in this one. We're going to talk about that coming up here right after this. College football is back. Iowa State is 2-0, and I could not be more excited to get through this season. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, Jack Trice specifically, there is just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a few taps, I saw amazing deals this upcoming season. The app made it super, super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat, which is super important to me if you've been following Locked On Cyclones for a while now. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's less stressful than any other way that I've bought tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download your Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. So the offense was a phenomenal side of Iowa State's game in this first home game for Iowa State against South Dakota. But in a 55-7 loss, or excuse me, well, for South Dakota, 55-7 win for Iowa State, I'm about to sit here and tell you, I think that the defense has room for improvement. And I mean it. Here at Locked On Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I really, truly do think that this defense has and probably needs to improve before we start seeing Big 12 opponents, before we start having those big games later in the year like Arizona State and BYU and TCU in there. We have to get better on defense. Now, we held SDSU to 7 points. Yes, that is entirely true. I got a few more statistics here for you. They rushed for 85. Okay. They threw for 126. Yeah, those are really good numbers. Like, I'm not going to sit here and deny what I'm looking at. The numbers that are in front of my face are pretty good for Iowa State. 2 interceptions as well. I mean, it's not like we just went out there and didn't play because we obviously held them to 7 points. I will say, though, stick with me because the way this game started, it could have gone entirely differently had USD not thrown a pick in their, what was it, second drive of the game when it was 7-14, I believe is what it was. And they threw that pick. The entire game just went off the rails for South Dakota. After that point, that first interception was detrimental to South Dakota. And that's just the way that it went. And that's the difference between, you know, playing quarterback at Iowa State and playing quarterback at USD and being a Power 4 Big 12 team and not. Like, I get it. Those are the differences. And that's why Iowa State dominated this game. Like, at the end of the day, it really does kind of come down to that. However, had that not happened, I wonder if Iowa State would have been challenged significantly more in this one. When you watched it, and I will go back and rewatch it for our show on Monday, I will reevaluate my comments here because this is just initial off the cuff, just turn the game off. I'm sure Ames is getting pelted with rain right now. That was a wild darkening of the sky in the last fourth quarter there. Turn the game off. This is my opinion. I'm going to rewatch it. But from what I saw today, Bowman just did not hit the throws he needed to. And it felt like he went 15 of 29, and I could definitely count on one hand how many of those were drops, less than 5. Like, they were inaccurate. He went just above 50%, and I truly, from what I remember watching in this game right now, think that well over half of them were just simply inaccurate throws or bad decision throws, like throwing into someone who's extremely covered or double coverage or whatever the situation is. I do think that Iowa State got bailed out hardcore at a lot of points in this game. And I really mean that. From my initial watch, it really felt like every time South Dakota was on the door and they were real close to just like, this is going to be a problem, all of a sudden, like, just whatever could possibly go wrong for South Dakota went wrong. And so maybe that's bend, don't break. Maybe that's Iowa State showing up when it really mattered, really locking guys down. But I just truly think a lot of those throws from Bowman, however it's said, were inaccurate. And at the end of the day, if the pass is inaccurate, you can't catch it. Like, you just can't. And does that go down to, well, South Dakota has to decide to run the ball then? Well, we held Charles to What was I saying? Pierre Jr., I said, look out for this guy. We held him to 13 for 51. So, or 49, excuse me. He lost 2 at one point. So the average of 3.8, not bad, but they ended up with 85 on the day. Like they weren't rushing all over us. So do you switch to rush attack? Because the routes are there. That was my biggest concern. South Dakota was getting open. Bowman or Bauman, I'm going to go with Bowman because it feels right to me. They were saying Bauman on the broadcast. Bowman was just missing guys. That is my look. The defensive line and the linebackers played really well. I understand it took me too long to really clarify that. I think our defensive line and our linebackers played really well in this one. Our secondary genuinely has me concerned right now, and we'll go back and watch it and we'll evaluate it. But against South Dakota, guys who, like, I want to see the tape to see how good they really were. But they were getting wide open. And it was obviously, to me, a part of South Dakota's game plan to target deep and target at least safeties. Okay, I need to make sure after watching, was it specifically any one player? I don't know right now. But they it seemed like they were like, look, Iowa State will get beat deep if we just keep going to it. And they had them a few times. I don't love that idea. I just don't. That was one of the things that I said coming off of Kansas State. Iowa State needs, like, I'm not going to yell, but absolutely, period, needs to figure out how to eliminate just deep shots and chunk plays. Okay? That is a major concern for me moving forward. We saw way too many wide receivers in this one who were just too open. And the throw was inaccurate and they didn't come away with the catch. And maybe it was a bit of a floater. It gave the safety time to get there to try to make a play, or whatever the case was. It felt to me like we were out of position and we were giving up a lot of separation to these South Dakota wide receivers. Now we'll go back. We'll take a look. Maybe South Dakota has generational talent at wide receiver that I wasn't aware of. And when I watched it, I wasn't able to catch it, I guess. And on rewatch, I'll be like, oh, wait, this guy is actually insane. And we won't face that good of wide receivers the rest of the year. Maybe that's the case. I'm going to say doubtful, but I'm not going to entirely rule it out. Assuming that is not the case, we have to clean up the secondary. Because to me, at this point, I'm evaluating this team as a Big 12 title contender. I think this team is good enough. If this was a team, like, can they get to a bowl game? I would say just don't change anything. We're just fine. Like, secondary doesn't need to be top in the nation. Like, just like, don't give up 50 points and our offense is going to win enough games to get us to a bowl game. But that's not how I'm evaluating them anymore. I am now seeing this as, like, I think that this needs to be a Big 12 championship appearance or a very, very close to appearance team. Like, there is a situation, I suppose, where Iowa State ends up half of a game out or something weird, and I wouldn't say that that's a failure. But what I've seen from this team so far, this is a Big 12 title contender. This absolutely is, which is super exciting, but means I have to evaluate them as such. And with the secondary looking like that, it's going to make it extremely difficult for the offense to stay in games. We've seen Iowa State's offense in rain, in close games, and now in a blowout in nice conditions. And I think they look really good. I think that they can hang with the best. We're going to have to see, what does Mauser draw up? What kind of situations does Iowa State handle? I thought they treated the end of the first half really well as well. Like, it seems like they're okay, but we can't be giving up 45 points and have it be on like two play drives where the defense is out there for like 5 minutes and all of a sudden the offense has to go back out and conduct a 10-minute drive. That's going to be a problem. So that my initial takeaway, the defense needs the secondary, especially the linebackers and the defensive line were okay. I thought they probably could have had more pass rush against South Dakota, but it is what it is. I'm going to leave it for now. We'll talk about the third segment. Overall, pretty good. Secondary, I just don't love it. I don't love it. But I mentioned, I threw out a little nugget there right before the half. Iowa State was killing it. They were killing it, and then they really killed it with a kick. We're going to talk about Kyle Konrardy's kick and my overall thoughts on the game coming up here right after this. We have an important request here at Locked On. We want to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping out. Today's episode is also brought to you by Upside. Cyclone fans, are you still paying full price for gas? I'm looking directly at you. Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code FOOTBALL and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I did think it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code FOOTBALL for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code FOOTBALL. Offers do vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Iowa State comes away with the win 55-7 over University of South Dakota. Dubs. It's that simple. Iowa State 2-0. You're here with Locked On Cyclones, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I was previewing it. Let's talk about it. Kyle Konrardy connects from 63 yards. Wow. What a cannon of a leg from Kyle Konrardy. I was so excited to see him get the chance from 63. I believe there was 5 seconds left in the first half when they wheeled him out there. They were going to call a play. They called timeout. I was shocked when they called timeout because I thought, well, now what? What's the play here? If you keep that timeout, you can run a quick little, power or center like dive or whatever. However you want to get a few yards and then call timeout immediately. You don't want to run a full-on pass play with an out route and whatever. It's going to take like 4 seconds, and if the ball bobbles, you're going to run out of time. So you could potentially run a quick dive, get down, get 2-3 yards back, and call timeout immediately and still have time to kick. Like that could happen. That's not what happened. Matt Campbell said, all right, call timeout from 63 yards out. Goes over, talks to Kyle. Hey, you good? You good from here? All right, cool. Bam, slap on the shoulder pads, get out there. I was like, oh, we have a chance to witness history today. Kyle Konrardy lines it up with his hands, gets set, looks down. All right, I'm ready. Timeout. South Dakota's like, yeah, we got ISIS. I don't really know if he could hit this, but we don't want to take the chance. Didn't really work, though, because Kyle Konrardy laced that one through from 63, and I thought it was good from 70. I mean, he had a leg on that. That was electric, and that's what I was talking about last week or on Friday when I said I think they want to get Kyle Konrardy some confidence back and show that what happened over in London going 50%. It's okay. Like that's not, you're going to miss one every now and then, but like, that's not you, bro. You are a GOAT. You're a great kicker. Remember what you did last year against Iowa. Here we go today against South Dakota. Let's give him a chance. Let's give him a chance to break the record in Jack Trice. Let's give him a chance to beat the Iowa State record. Like just electricity from that. That was so much fun to watch. The fact that it came off the way it did off his foot and it like hugged would that be the left upright and then just faded kind of in. Oh, felt so good for Kyle Konrardy on that one. I've been a fan I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, after the kick from Iowa, how could you not be? And then 63, that's so far. That is so far. So the biggest takeaway from that for me is how do you not love having a weapon like that? Like Iowa State genuinely has a real weapon at kicker, and that can make the difference in a lot of games. That really can. We saw what happened to K-State last week, and are we definitely sure that that was the reason decisions were made the way they were? We're not entirely sure. Okay, I don't have anyone on the inside giving me that info, but they didn't kick it when I felt like they maybe could have, and they lost by 3. And so Iowa State, if you're like within 60 yards, you've got a real chance with Kyle Konrardy, and all the way out even to 63. So that was super cool to witness. Other takeaways from this game, I do think that Iowa State is now absolutely a Big 12 contender. We saw a lot of really good signs on offense, especially I thought on defense. We saw really good run stopping. I did kind of mention it in the second segment there at the end. I think that there is a little bit of a need for pass rush. I just think that you need it. I just don't see how you can get through games without pass rush in the Big 12. If you're going for a Big 12 title, you have to put pressure on the quarterback. I felt like there should have been more in this one. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not the end of the world. I get it. Things got out of hand relatively quickly in this one. It escalated. It got pretty out of hand for South Dakota pretty quickly. 7-14 to end the first. Iowa State then with 13 more in the second, and then 14-14 through the next 2 quarters. So I guess it is technically like relatively linear, but it felt like it got out of hand really quickly. South Dakota was not able to hang. Maybe that played a role. Maybe that played a role with Iowa State defensive linemen or maybe relatively conservative play calls. Like I said, I haven't gone back and watched every single play. I thought that there was just not enough there. But I guess we'll revisit it on Monday. Other thoughts, I definitely think that we have depth where we need it. Alex Mansky, I thought, looked relatively solid. I thought that Lee looked pretty good. He got a bulk of the carries, obviously, at the end of this one. Had 13 for 86. He had 5 loss, or I guess so he netted 81. I don't love the way that this is presented here, but nonetheless, he had a 28-yard long. I think that we have a lot of depth at receiver. Just the ability to spread the rock around. We don't necessarily have a Higgins and Knoll where you're going to really only be targeting 2 guys. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys with a reception. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 guys with more than 1. Tyler Moore had 2, and Brett Eskelson also had 2. Obviously, depth at the line at the tight end position is pretty key. However, I will say this. This is my final take on this. I am so absolutely sick of Iowa State not getting the respect that it deserves. Okay? Plain and simple. Why is ESPN like not providing any stats or play-by-play for this game? That feels just like, to me, maybe it's just an oversight. They're doing that whole weird thing with the app, whatever. How can that possibly be happening? Some of the stuff that they were saying on the broadcast, like, it's just indicative of pretty much the way I'm taking it, straight up disrespect to the school. Like, facts not being great. There, I believe that they pointed, and this maybe was just a misspeak, but like saying that the NFL instead of the Battlehawks, how many guys were on the Battlehawks was being displayed that were from Ames, and it was like, this is all the guys in the NFL. Like, didn't really love that. I just, look, maybe I'm personal or taking it way too personal. I don't really care, though, to be honest, because I'm sick of it. This is a true high caliber team. You cannot convince me otherwise. Something we haven't even talked about is the amount of penalties. I think they have 4 through 2 games, and one of them was kind of like, is that really a penalty? Probably shouldn't have been a penalty. So 3 through 2 games hasn't even been mentioned yet, and is absolutely like a characteristic of a contender level team. Iowa State is still being treated like some random team in the Big 12. Just some team out there. Like, yeah, they'll win some games. Maybe they'll make a highlight like 63-yard field goal. Like, oh, look at this town, in the middle of Iowa, some team, they kicked a ball a long ways. No, that is not Iowa State anymore. Not under Matt Campbell and what he's built. Not under Rocco Becht and his leadership, and certainly not under the team culture that's been built outside of like the actual team building or the leadership on the field. Like, the culture of and the expectation, I feel like now, of Iowa State, of Ames, is significantly higher. This team has gotten better. They can do what they need to do in these games. Like, we're nitpicking at this point. We absolutely are, because this is no longer just maybe they make a bowl game, Iowa State. This is, oh my gosh, is Iowa State going to be in a Big 12 championship game or not? Because that determines whether or not the season's successful. This team is that. It absolutely is. And over the next 5 years, we'll see if that's what Iowa State becomes, if that's what's expected of Iowa State. But we will find out this year. I think this year it comes down to Big 12 championship or not on some level. That's how good this team is. And they're still being treated like just some team. Big Noon's coming to campus next week, which is exciting. But that was, I don't think anybody thought that was going to be what it, we'll see. We'll see. I'm sick of it. I know it's going to be, everyone's shocked at the end of the year when Iowa State's in it all. They're going to be shocked. I'm telling you right now. And I'm going to try not to take it personally because I'm calling it, but it shouldn't be happening. Absolutely shouldn't be happening. Let's celebrate the win, though. 55-7, huge win for the Cyclones in this one. I think overall, team looked great. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a win. Didn't think we were only holding to 7. Overall, wins on the day. 63-yard field goal as well. Next week, we've got Iowa. It's Cyhawk week. Get fired up in Ames, too. So I cannot wait for that. Until next time, Cyclone fans, here we roll.